Hello, welcome to Love in the Time of Hydra, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 10th anniversary podcast. On this day, 10 years ago, Tuesday, November 12th, some exciting stuff was happening in the world. Two different composers died, John Tavener and Alan Blank, R.I.P. The top movie at the box office was, Tony, do you want to guess?
10 years ago today was 2013.
You just did a podcast about it.
Was it Thor: The Dark World?
It was Thor: The Dark World. And surprise, surprise, Royals My Lord was still the number one song. Find a new song, America. I'm getting sick of bringing up that song. But the most important thing that happened on this day 10 years ago was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s 7th episode, The Hub, aired on ABC 8, 7 Central. I'm Jamie Jirak, and I'm here with my co-host, boyfriend, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. novice, Tony Poletto. Hi, Tony.
Oh, hey, thanks for the nice introduction. And what's really exciting is that today I get to introduce the guest because while he may be mine and Jamie's friend, he was my friend first. And he was my college roommate at a little place called Lee's McRae. He's a very talented actor and improviser, and he lives on the road. The song Wherever I May Roam by Metallica is actually based on Joe's life. So without further ado, here is Joe Godburn.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. That's a very little known fact that's much more known. Me and Metallica are pretty close. Yeah. Also, the Steel Horse I Ride.
Yeah, that one too. Damn, you're influential.
Yeah, Dead or Alive. That one. That's the one.
Yeah. Oh, Joe, we're so happy to have you. Before we get into all the S.H.I.E.L.D. business, I really want to celebrate the fact that the SAG strike is over.
Yeah,
it finally happened. The actors have gotten, I think, most of what they wanted. I don't think they scored quite as well as the writers did, but they still, they've gotten a deal. It's a good deal. We're so happy. And that means, you guys, listen, I can't make any promises, but I know that my number one goal for 2024 in life is to get Clark Gregg on this podcast. I can't say it's going to happen for sure, but I can tell you that is my goal. And I feel like if I can make that happen, that's when the dominoes will fall and we can get more exciting cast members on this show. Again, this is not a promise. I have not asked anyone yet, but it's good to have goals, and I have good feelings about these goals.
But he knows about us. He knows we exist.
Yes, he does. He is fully aware about this podcast. When I told him about it, he said, cool, which, great. That's glowing endorsement. We should get a poster and put that.
He's going to be here next week. Let's just tell everybody, right? Officially, he's going to be here next week.
Tony, you have to stop lying to our audience because they're going to not trust you.
Last lie of the day. Promise.
No, we know that's not true either, because it's time for our next segment. What were we doing 10 years ago? For the first time ever, my time hop, since we've started, actually had things from 10 years ago today. I can tell you that I was at an improv rehearsal, and according to the Post, it was the hardest I'd ever laughed at a PH improv rehearsal. And I was with them for the better part of a decade. So it was a really funny day I was having 10 years ago. But everyone knows that when I think about my improv days, I get war flashbacks. So I can't even I'm like, oh, I laughed. I can't remember laughing ever. Also, I posted about how much I was loving the British show, The In-Betweeners, and I was so into it, but I swear I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened. 10 years later, I have not a stitch of memory. All I know is that Anthony Stewart Head showed up at one point. I couldn't tell you anything else that happened in that show.
Oh, that's a good get.
Yeah. Tony, what were you doing 10 years ago?
I was 10 years ago. Oh yeah, I was in the process of auctioning off my marble collection that I started when I was 2 years old.
Marble with a B. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marbles. Oh, okay. I get it, because we're talking. Yeah, marbles. Little round glass things you throw at each other. And 75,000 marbles for auction, and I won't say how much I made off of it, but let's just say I don't have any problems.
Yeah, and that is our next lie of the day. But hopefully Joe will be a truth teller, but I don't know Joe as well as I know Tony, so he could lie and I might not know. Joe, what were you doing 10 years ago?
I'm so happy y'all had me at this time, because usually my answer to that would have just been like, I don't know, I was like in a hotel somewhere on tour, I guess. 10 years ago, I was packing everything up to take it overseas to Italy and Bahrain, and was doing one of the highlights of my touring gig, which was actually getting to do my shows overseas with the kids in Italy and Bahrain.
That's awesome. And Bahrain is actually a very important location in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. eventually. Fun fact that we will learn about in season 2. So I'm gonna have to remember that and have you back for that specific episode, so you can be like, that's a place I've been. Oh yeah, look at
that. My expertise. Yeah.
Yeah.
My expertise of the 3 days that I bought knickknacks for my family and spent way too much money. That's
you
all
never
I did.
know.
That's all you did?
Well, amazing as always.
Well, and my job.
Oh,
and your job. Tell us about your job real quick. Give the quick version. Let the audience know what you do.
So yeah, I work on the road with a traveling children's theater company. I pull into a town on Monday. We audition kids. We teach them a show in a week. I'll put the plug in, Missoula Children's Theater. And then we perform shows Friday or Saturday, pack all our stuff up, drive to a new town. If you know what you're doing, you get lucky and you get to go overseas. And that's what I did 10 years ago.
Hell yeah.
Amazing. Shout out to, as always, our audience for listening and engaging with us. I want to thank everyone who signed up for our Patreon and listened to Tony and our pal Adam Gertler talk about Thor: The Dark World. I am so sorry I had to miss that. And I part of me was like, I guess you guys joked about like it not being worth $1 because I wasn't there. And I was like, that's funny. Oh no, what if people actually complain? And I was relieved that no one did. But then my ego got there and I was like, but no one complained. So great.
Yeah,
but if you guys,
we crushed it.
Yeah, you really did. I'm pretending I listened to it. I haven't yet. I'm so sorry. This has been the busiest week of my life with the strike ending.
I think it would just get you depressed. That's why you haven't listened to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get really big FOMO. But if you guys haven't listened to it yet, you're gonna want to sign up for our Patreon and listen to it before next week's episode. It's not it's not like homework. You don't have to do it. But Adam is coming back to talk next week's episode. Why? I don't know. Could there be a reason? Who knows? Not me. I certainly don't. But anyway, I of course want to shout out our friends who are in the chat right now. Hi, chat.
Hi, chat. Thank you, everybody, for chatting with us while we record. This is a friendly reminder to tag your spoilers. That just write spoiler alert before discussing anything that happens on the show after this episode. And that's for my sake, because I haven't seen the show. I saw this episode we're talking about 2 days ago. There might be more people who are listening or want to listen to this. And so that's why hashtag Protect Tony is a thing. And everyone else who's first timers, let's be kind. And let me introduce our producer, Miera, because she's the police and she monitors all of this. Her new nickname, I gave her a new nickname for our Thor: The Dark World episode, and it's the Supreme Intelligence. So this is Supreme Intelligence Miera. Hi, Miera.
Hello. Thank you. Yes, I'm very fast at Googling, so I have all the answers.
Man. We put you to work on that episode. She was fact checking.
It's a lot of information being asked. Yeah.
I'm sad I missed it, but I do respect this title. Even though if you've seen the Marvels in theaters, you know that things didn't really go well for the Supreme Intelligence, but that's okay. All right, before we crack into the episode, we got to talk to Joe about his history with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Joe, if I remember correctly, you watched some of season 1 when it was airing, but that was pretty much it.
I watched most of season 1. I was at a very stressful point in my life about 8 years ago where I really needed something that I could just like put on the television and just have on and watch it. And this show really scratched that itch. And then things got better and I stopped watching. But I'm forever grateful. I'm forever grateful for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. during that time.
I learned recently, Joe, that when things aren't going well for you, you have a certain facial hair situation going on. Was that happening during S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I'm sure I had stress beard at the time.
Yeah.
that was definitely I hate my life beard moment. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, Joe's very also, I should say, he's not like me, not familiar with this show, but he's the guy crushes through Marvel comics more than anybody I know, old and new. He's very well versed. Some of my favorite conversations are when Joe will call me and be like, "Can I tell you how Luke Cage kicked the shit out of Doctor Doom?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" And he'll regale me with the story. So no, he's and you know, more or less up to date with the MCU. So Joe's in the pocket where this show lives for sure.
Oh yeah, when I was rewatching to get ready, I saw Lola, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Deadpool stole that car once."
Oh,
of course he did. That son of a bitch.
I didn't know that. Joe teaching me facts.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love learning
He's
that.
a
I need
I'm pretty sure
He
there's a cover. There's a cover where he's like stolen it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Awesome.
I need to find that. I know that our listeners are so good at like sending us stuff on the socials. So like if somebody has that cover, tweet it and tag us in it because I want to see it.
Hell yeah.
Amazing. All right. So I love hearing this. I'm so excited that we're here. Let's get in here. Time to talk about The Hub. The Hub was written by Raphael Judkins and Lauren LeFranc. Judkins was a producer during the first 2 seasons and wrote 5 episodes, all with LeFranc, and who was also a producer, but she stayed on for season 3 and then left, which, you know, very common in television. And the episode was directed by Bobby Roth. He helmed 5 episodes throughout the first 2 seasons, and he's been directing for a long time. I looked; his credits go back to the 70s. Lot of TV, a few movies. So that was pretty cool to learn. Of course, the cast, we got our main 6 back, our core 6, and then we've got Saffron Burrows as Victoria Han and Maximiliano Hernandez as Jasper Sitwell. As we know at this point, Sitwell has appeared in Thor, The Avengers, and a one-shot. So it's fun to see somebody from the MCU popping up in an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode. So let's just, and in this episode, quick synopsis, the team gets sent to the Hub, one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s headquarters, but then Ward and Fitz get sent on a mission, but S.H.I.E.L.D. secrecy is putting strain on Coulson's team. Can they get through it? So initial thoughts, Joe, what do you think of this episode?
I thought it was interesting that it was one of the ones about Hermione and Boy Hermione, who is how I identified those 2 characters. It's definitely, I love a storyline of like, trust the system, and then you can't trust the system. That's always a great storyline. Also, it tackles one of my favorite tropes, which isn't just the 2 people who are polar opposites but have to learn to work together, but 2 people who are polar opposites and have to learn to work together, even though one of them is clearly more inept than the other person, but somehow it's both of their responsibility to meet in the middle.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Tony, what were your thoughts? Initial thoughts?
I liked it. It had from the jump, it had some kind of Winter Soldier vibes, which I was very into. The Hub was mentioned in a previous episode, right?
They mentioned so many S.H.I.E.L.D. locations.
Right.
I don't remember if they actually said the Hub before. Chat, this is where you come through.
Yeah, chat.
You know how my memory, like in that way, kind of sucks. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. Well, it was. I really liked the Hub. I liked seeing. You know, we've gotten little glimpses of undisclosed locations throughout the show. So it was nice to actually just kind of be deep into a facility like that. Although I must say there was way too much fucking foot traffic. That looked like LAX in there. There's just way too many people who work for S.H.I.E.L.D. And I don't believe that for a second.
Tony said this out loud when we were watching it, but I'm like, but the Triskelion, that when you see that, it's just as busy and even bigger and busier. This is a big organization. I'm sure if you go over to the CIA guys, a lot of people work for them.
No, it's not like that at all. This is like the John Wick universe where it turns out like 12% of all homeless people are assassins. Like that's what it felt like.
I don't know. I think it's fine because I think we haven't already seen it, but we will see it. Hustle and bustle at the Triskelion. But I would like to say that I love this episode. It's obviously not as good as last week's episode, but it is my second favorite of the first 7. And I like that one, it's funny, and we needed that after like last week made me sob twice in one day. And I love that we're getting like a mix of team ups. I love that we're seeing a bigger picture of Shield. I love that the small Sitwellness is tying in with the movies. There's just it's just so fun. And I really like this one. There are certain let's just get into it. Let's just fucking talk about it. How about that?
Let's do it. Whatever you say, boss.
That, also the chat, they're all being like, I think they mentioned it maybe in a movie, maybe, so that we're all on the same page. And I like that. I like that when we're like, I've seen this episode, like we've talked, this is probably my 10th time, 11th time seeing this episode. I still can't remember shit. That's why I'm a rewatcher. All right. So this episode opens on like a really fun. It's a kidnapped Coulson. It feels very Romanoff in the Avengers, where it's like he's speaking Russian to them and like he's clearly fine. And we get this new kind of character, Agent Shaw. May and Ward come in and rescue Coulson. They kick some ass, and he's like, "I was wonder what you guys have been up to." To me, what I love about this opening, it feels very much like the opening of Age of Ultron, where it's like the team knows how to work together a little more now. Like they have there's a little bit of history. They have a bit of a flow, a little more well-oiled. Tony, what were your thoughts going through your head in this opening?
I mean, I had no concerns because Coulson was there, and he's cool as a cucumber, and he's the coolest dude that's ever been a dude. No, I thought that was cool. I like they had sort of a, they extracted the data thing from the guy's like nostril. That was pretty rad. No, I was into it. I mean, it's not like hole gets blown into the side of a plane kind of opening, but it was cool. I like Coulson in that position, and that that was fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Joe, did you have any strong feelings about how this episode started?
Yeah, no, not really. I just was like kind of ready. It started and I was like, yeah, this is a ride. I'll go on. When they got the thing out of the guy's nose, there's been a kind of a little bit of not quite backlash, but certainly we're kind of done with this culturally in terms of like the quippiness of Marvel, I think sometimes. And they pulled it out of the guy's nose and they were like, is that all the data? And he goes, I sure hope so. And I've become cynical about the quips, but I was like, that's a pretty good quip.
Ooh, they got you. They got Joe. That means it's good writing. We love that. I will tell. I was gonna drop this in the history later, but it's a good time to tell you these two writers have a sketch comedy background.
Do they now? Yeah.
I mean, I do think this is a really funny episode, so I wasn't surprised to learn that. But you do know I hear sketch comedy and I get a little skittish, but I do think that like these are good, funny writers. And respect to them. Speaking of the nose thing, when it was going on, Tony, you like it reminded you of like COVID tests, and that
did.
It bummed me out. I was like, oh, you're right.
I was like, I kind of know what that feels like. What's going on with that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that did. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
So we get to the hub, and of course, instantly, Skye has issues with the levels. Coulson and Miera, or Coulson is level 8, and Fitz calls her a socialist, which I think is really funny. Gemma does name drop the Triskelion, and as we said, we see Jasper Sitwell, and it was funny because Tony, when we see Sitwell, you say out loud, "You crooked as fuck, man," and like it's hard because. A certain movie is coming out in April 2014, but that movie does not exist yet. So as far as we know right now, in this episode, Sitwell is just a good company man who's about to get his ass handed to him by Gemma Simmons.
Yeah.
And so it's weird. Like it's hard not to pretend that movie doesn't exist. Joe, what did you remember Sitwell like enough?
Oh yeah, no, I love Sitwell.
Cool.
And the moment of Winter Soldier where he's just like, S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't negotiate, like that. We were talking about Phil Coulson being cool as a cucumber, and they did such a great job of making a foil to that with Sitwell. And this, again, was a fun episode to jump in on, because throughout the episode, I was like, oh yeah, like S.H.I.E.L.D. hasn't been revealed as evil yet. It's neat that they're hinting at it before it happened.
Yeah, but I'm getting nervous about this territory, so we're gonna move on. Unless Tony, I'll ask you if you have like deep thoughts about seeing Sitwell, but like I do want to be careful here.
No, I mean, I know,
You've seen Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I know. He's crooked as fuck. I knew, and I said it out loud. I got to stop talking out loud when we're watching these. I'm supposed to like keep it close to the chest so we can talk about it in the podcast. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was fun. You know, now I'm being, because, you know, I know things and we know things. I'm being hypercritical of his behavior and his choices. So I'm like, what are you up to, Sitwell? But yeah, no, it's cool. I like it.
And we also meet Victoria Hand. I really like her. She's very serious. You know, she reveals she wants to send Ward and Fitz to deactivate an overkill device. I love like the cut of like they think Ward and May thinks it's going to be them, but then you realize it's going to be Fitz, and it cuts to him stuck in the door with the cart. And I just think that's funny, and it's part of Ian's, like, he's just so good in this role, and when he like, and it's funny to watch him shouting and yelling. And I don't know, for me watching this, I'm like, Ward and Fitz, okay, an interesting team up we're gonna get that we haven't gotten before.
Yeah, I agree. I thought
I have exciting. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think I'm on a little bit of lag. I have a question about that character, because it seemed like she had some like red highlights in her hair that are very similar to the Valentina character. I don't know if y'all or maybe somebody in the chat were they supposed to be moving toward her being like Madam Hydra?
I don't
or that might
know.
Be a future spoiler phase 5.
Like, you know, she sometimes women like to do fun things with their hair. And not all women who have colors in their hair are the same character. I'll just say that. But she does.
Joe, you piece of shit. Oh God.
Could Victoria Hand be Julia Louis-Dreyfus? I don't know. What do I know? We're so far away from Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the MCU.
I said, Joe, earlier that I had the same thought, but no, I didn't think that. I would never think that about a person with colorful hair. So I was wrong.
Well, it's also the fact that she seems to be more on the lawful evil than lawful good side.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you get a vibe? What's your vibe? Do you think that do you think she's a good guy or a bad guy, Tony?
I don't know. Here you go, getting me to do predictions. I like to submit myself to the whims of the thing, but she's like, it's probably neither. It's just this middle ground character, I think, who is has no qualms about making sacrifices, and that makes her the enemy to the audience, right? Because, you know, she was pretty much down with our two guys getting blown up, which we aren't. Well, at least not for one of them. But sorry, Ward. But I don't think she'll ever just like. I'd be very surprised if she was just like as Hydra as Sitwell is, or as what's his name, the senator that Gary Shandling plays or whatever. But I think
I just call him Gary Shandling.
Yeah, that's right. But no, I think she'll probably just be a foil. I mean, just a foil for the show. If we see her again, I'd like to see her again. She had kind of a evil, sexy librarian vibe. She's cool.
Ooh, yeah, she is sexy, 100%.
Yeah,
love it. I love a serious lady with some color in her hair. It's great. So we're gonna jump around a little bit because there's so much happening, and but I want to talk Fitzsimmons first because we're coming off of the Fitzsimmons episode, and I like that there's still this kind of lingering awkwardness between them after this like near-death experience, you know. And now he's going on this mission. She's worried about him. He makes a quip about her not doing anything rash while he's gone, like jumping out of planes. But my favorite little detail, of course, is that Gemma makes him a prosciutto and buffalo mozzarella sandwich with a hint of pesto aioli. And as Tony knows, sandwiches are my favorite food. Tony actually spent today working some sandwiches. So like this is a sandwich household, and I would so be Fitz in this situation if someone threw out that beautiful sandwich. No matter how, like, I would have lost my mind, and I also would have kept bringing it up forever. And even though we're not quite there yet, I still want to talk about the sandwich. I want to say I love that at the end of the episode, when Gemma asks him about the sandwich, he pretends that it was delicious, because I think that is genuinely the most mature moment that Fitz has had in the series so far.
Hell yeah.
And it really shows his feelings towards Gemma, how much he cares about her. So let's just talk about the Fitzsimmons feelings. Let's talk about the sandwich. Tony, I know you got sandwich feelings.
Well, okay, so yeah, I just worked a Flog Gnaw Fest at Dodger Stadium, 2 days, slinging sandwiches with my friends Shane and Adam. They have this sandwich company. It's called, I literally just got back. Like, I just got back a half hour before. For those who can't see, I'm wearing a shirt with the name on it. It's called Vesti. You should follow their Instagram and look at their delicious sandwiches. They make like really good Italian sandwiches, just like the one that's in this. So like, you know, really good quality Italian ingredients, simple, good bread, delicious. So like, I've been in sandwich world, and, you know, Fitz opens up the bag of the sandwich when they're hiding in the tunnel and takes this deep whiff of it. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, to get that prosciutto, pesto, mozzarella, warm bread smell. This is going to be a good sandwich. And then Ward threw it out a fucking tunnel. And he said, hey, it's a completely reasonable thing. He's like, there are dogs tracking us. You're right. Okay? You're right. But fuck you still. Eat it quick.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I can't get around the sandwich. There's a murder. They murdered a sandwich. It's almost as bad as dogs.
You felt like you were like really coming around on Ward last week.
There was a thing that I had at the beginning when she made the sandwich. I was like, well, that's so nice, and that is an amazing sounding sandwich. It has no business going on a behind enemy lines mission. That's irresponsible to send a sandwich that good on a dangerous mission. And I understand the feeling of it and the care that was put into it, but also that sandwich had no business being there. It was a bad place to take such an amazing sandwich.
So it's on Simmons, as far as you're concerned.
No, I think somebody should have pointed out, hey, maybe a sandwich when I'm, you know what? It's on Fitz for not eating the sandwich before they got behind enemy lines. Is who it's.
I'm with that.
Ultimately,
I'm with that.
Yeah. All right. I mean, we could talk sandwiches forever, but I think we have to move on. And backtracking a little bit before the sandwich drama of it all. You know, Ward and Fitz, they start on this mission. I do love that Fitz up top is just telling stories about Gemma. He's just not used to being without Gemma, and he's just telling like cute little stories about Gemma, and it makes me like so happy. I love that. But then they go to this Russian bar, and Ward is throwing out all these intense scenarios because it immediately goes wrong. He's like, how long can you hold your breath underwater? How are you attached to your pinky? And you really think Fitz is going to fail, but then he instantly befriends all the scary Russians with his like tech skills. He fixes their TV. He says, I'm just a man, which I love. They call him Mishka, a sweet little bear. He's calling them sweetheart. It's a really cute moment where like Fitz is thriving accidentally.
Yes. Yeah, and it gives him so much confidence, which I really like. Did we get that copy?
Yeah. Yeah, I keep waiting like Joe, and then I wait for the delay.
Oh, that's what
I didn't say his name this time.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about the delay over here.
No, it's okay. But yeah, so that was fun. We enjoyed it. Great. I need to point out that they called it the night gun.
That you thought it was.
Yes, and I want to shout out to Tegan, who DM'd me and reminded me that Fitz's first line in the pilot episode, he says night gun. He does say night gun initially. Then they switched it to pistol, but now they're back to gun, and I can just let it go now. I've heard them say gun again. It's not a big deal, but it was really bothering me.
A pistol is a gun. I don't know what the big deal is.
It's just the name. It's just like it's because it's like a big debate about the name. Ward doesn't like the name, but they're changing it. The least interesting part is gun and pistol. Night Night's what we should be talking about. Why are they switching between gun and pistol? It's not a big deal.
We're stalling for time here, guys. Sorry.
All right. So
but it is. It's not like a fancy tech like sci-fi weapon though. Is it, or was it? Did she actually just shoot Sitwell with a straight up pistol?
No, it's the Night gun that keeps showing up that Fitz has been working on. It's kind of like a stun gun situation, but it keeps coming back up. But so at the hub, Simmons is spiraling without Fitz. It's so she lets Skye rope her into her bad girl shenanigans, which I love.
Great line.
At one point, Gemma said, "This is quite thrilling," and Tony goes, "Shut up," because I just think she's so cute. Tony, I don't want you to stop having visceral things pop out of your mouth because it's fun for me.
I fucking love Fitzsimmons, man. They're my favorite.
Sure, of course. And I love that Gemma is finishing Skye's sentences because she's so used to working with Fitz. And I want to say that this is my third favorite Skimmins episode. And people in the chat, I want you to use a spoiler warning to guess what my first two favorites are, and we'll talk about it when Tony leaves the room. But this is my third favorite Skimmins interaction this whole episode. They're just so cute. They're on the comms. This whole scene with Sitwell is funny. Joe, talk about how you're feeling about this hub, Gemma, and Skye situation.
The hub, Skye, yeah. It was a moment of definitely having fun. I do love a bad influence, and it's very fun watching the wrong person have the wrong job, because obviously the dynamic of those two, the job should have been done with it flipped, and they did a great job of setting up the scenario where we know that's what the job should be, but this is how it's going to have to go. And I think both actors, there are so many moments where the actors really lived up to the game that the script had set up for them. Getting a little ahead, but when is it Maya is doing the Tai Chi on the plane and has the non-conversation with Coulson was another great moment of there being a great bit in the script that the actors then really went above and beyond in elevating. And the hub spy mission into the panel was, I thought, a very good example of that.
Yeah, it's May though. Joe, her name is May.
May, excuse me. Sorry.
Maria, could you revoke Joe's clearance, please? Thank you.
Hang on, we're gonna kick him out.
I wrote down in my notes exactly what Joe said, which is just Simmons and subterfuge don't mix, which that was one of the favorite thing about that whole scene. It's her trying to just keep talking, and she just can't even say anything close to a reasonable thought. She's great. And I also do love the May Coulson not talking, or Coulson doing all the talking, and May just being a wall for him to bounce off of is great.
This is perfect because this is what I was going to bring up next. We have to talk about
Talk about the what?
My AirPods died. Maria, can you still hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry. It's been a busy week, you guys. Forgot to charge my AirPods. So Skye says that Coulson's acting like a robot. We know that Coulson is really struggling with these shield rules, even though he's not letting the newbies see it. And he goes and has this whole talk at May. Trust the system. They keep saying it. Joe said it earlier, and you guys kind of already did it. But I just love this episode because a lot of times it's very obnoxious to watch a man talk at a woman, but in this case it works so well because May doesn't have to say anything because she's May, and all she has to do is look at him with those piercing eyes, angry eyes, and he knows what she's gonna say.
Yep. It's their balance. This is the what he's bringing up, this whole argument that he's having with himself. It's nice to hear him have that argument with himself, him being, becoming disillusioned, because the thing almost every single episode has some aspect of Coulson making the human choice, not making the organization choice or the entity choice or the corporate choice. He's always going that extra mile to do the right thing by people. And now he's in this position where he directly facilitated the potential death of his 2 people on his team. And so he's really wrestling with it. And that's kind of just been that tug of war has kind of been what this whole show's been about up to now. And I like it.
Yeah, and we going back to Ford. They don't have a ship name. Ward and Fitz. They backtracking. They got over the border. Things went wrong. Ward threw away that sandwich. But what I like in this moment is that you can tell that Fitz really resents Ward for being the one to save Gemma in last week's episode. And I like their whole dynamic of, Coulson told me to look after you. And then later Fitz says he told me the same thing.
Yeah. That's a good moment.
It's a good call out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good call out. It was like, you're not a fucking babysitter. I'm a grown man moment. Yeah.
Salty Shieldstand in the comments says that the ship name is just Fitzward, and I do believe that is actually a real ship because as we have always discussed, there's always a real ship at hand. But I think Fard is a better ship name. But oh well, the time has passed.
I think we're pretty much at the point where it's like erotic fan fiction time, Jamie. Like you keep dancing around.
I know. I think that as soon as we get back, and we only have 2 episodes left of this or 3 episodes left before we break for the holidays, so I don't know if it should be the first thing I do in 2024, but if you guys want to hear my erotica, if you really are dying to hear it sooner, honestly, the 9th episode is when my friend Annie is joining us, and she's probably a good person to have on for our first erotica reading. So I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
You know what? Maybe it's just that right now, we got our first Patreon episode. It's for those who haven't signed up, it's $1. You can go and listen to mine and Adam Gertler's breakdown of Thor: The Dark World. And then, I just say we create a new Patreon tier for like $75 to hear Jamie's erotic fan fiction.
That's extreme. That's really expensive.
Well, I don't know. Not if Clark Gregg's going to be on the episode next week,
Stop saying that, you guys. They're gonna think it's gonna happen, and then no one's gonna listen to us anymore. You can lie about
Clark
yourself.
Gregg is not
Don't lie about the show. That's a rule I'm instilling right now.
Because he's on right now. Clark, you ready to come out?
Clark Gregg, everybody.
He's not ready yet.
Oh, I hate you guys. Okay, back to this episode. The team decides that they're gonna, backing it up. We learn that there's gonna be no extraction. With Skye, Coulson goes all dad mode. He's pissed about her and Gemma doing what they did. He says, when she says, "Did you know?" and he said, "That's classified," that hits hard. But he's pissed because he didn't know, and he confronts Hand, and she says, "Well, Barton and Romanoff never have an extraction," and he says, "Well, they know they don't have an extraction. That's a little different," and then again, trust the system. And I like this Coulson moment. I like that he's still being the shield agent and the level thing with Skye, but he's not just giving in. He's pissed off.
Yeah, essential. This is 2 episodes in a row.
How much shit do you think gets talked?
Go ahead, Joe.
Quick question about Romanov and Barton. How much shit do you think gets talked about Barton and Romanov by the, what did Tony say, the LAX amount of people at the hub who all just have 2 coworkers who are Avengers? And it's like, oh, yeah, those 2. Yeah, they think they're so great.
Oh, I bet they're actually really the popular kids. I'm sure everyone's at the water cooler gossiping. Do you think Barton and Romanoff are doing it? Because they don't know that he's married, right? Although maybe they do, because turns out his wife was in S.H.I.E.L.D. But Actually, that's a conversation for much later because we can't talk about that right now. Actually, I'm putting that in my Tony leaves the room notes to talk about.
I was gonna say about this device, like this is 2 episodes in a row where they've come up with a sort of MacGuffin-y type thing that is really stupid, and I love it. And but like I don't love it because it's stupid. It's like it's almost not stupid, but still is. But like the first one being like it's a virus that gets to you through electricity, and I'm like, that's dumb. I love it. And then this one was like, this is a bomb that activates all the weapons ever, and I'm like, that's really stupid. I love it. Like I'm really like I like this. They're just going for it in this show, and I really like that.
Joe, do you have any thoughts about that?
I did not even pay attention to what the device did. I was solely on just like, yeah, the guys are going to go behind enemy lines, and they do not get along, and it's a MacGuffin. And as soon as I hear MacGuffin, I stop listening, and I'm just like, yeah, there's a device. And then when he started using it to like stop people's guns, I was like, oh, it does stuff, huh? So I tuned out of whatever part where they explained what it did.
Joe, I'm right there with you because if you would have asked me right now, despite having watched it yesterday and seen this episode as many times as I have, if you would have asked me what does that overkill device do, I would have said, I just memorized it's even called an overkill device for this episode. I have no idea what it does. Before we talk about the rest of the episode, we're going to take a quick 30-second break. So if you're watching and you need to go to the bathroom, refill your drinks, do that, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Love in the Time of Hydra. Thank you to everyone who is listening later, everyone who's listening right now live. We so appreciate you. I am here with Tony and our friend Joe talking about the Hub. So next part of this episode, the team decides that they're going to do the extraction themselves. We have this great moment. Ward and Fitz are working together. They fight. They got each other's backs. And then I like that when it all works out and comes together, Victoria Hand, she's like, this was Coulson's team. They didn't need an extraction. And I really enjoyed that bit. What did you feel, Tony, about how this came together?
Yes, she's talking out her ass, acting like she planned this to go as well as it did. She's like, well, I knew he'd save the day and make us look good. I knew that would happen. That's why I'm a hands-off director of agents. Yeah, well, sure you are.
Joe, did you feel that way?
That's exactly how I saw it. But also it was because of just the actions taken beforehand where I felt like the show was trying to telegraph just knowing ahead because of Civil War. I was like, oh, okay, so she's probably a secret Hydra agent. So I was telegraphing that onto her.
Sure.
Okay. I guess we just won't know ever. We're never going to find out.
Never gonna know.
Not until Julie Dreyfus shows up again. then we'll know for sure. So then of course we cannot have an episode without an emotional Sky moment now. These are pivotal to these episodes. And this episode, the beginning of the episode, she was bugging Coulson about her redacted file. And he's like, I'm busy. But really he was dadding it, and he did look it up, and he finds the file, and he learns that Sky was dropped off at an orphanage by a SHIELD agent when she was a baby. Does not know who this woman was. Was it her mother? We don't know. They have a really sweet moment where she hugs him, and that's really great. But then Coulson goes to May, and he knows more. He's still shielding it. This woman died brutally somehow. And then, but he asks May for help to finding more about Sky, and I think that's really nice. And May's like, we're in dangerous waters, but I will help you. And it's like, Mom and Dad, they're coming through. They're going to help.
Yeah. I think that Coulson's, doesn't even know if he's a human fucking being. I don't know if he could be keeping secrets. Like, it just seems like a lot for the guy. But I'm down with unraveling Sky's history. I think if that's something we're gonna do every few episodes, I'm into it. I'm into getting to the bottom of it because I'm liking her. She's growing on me. She should know, and I like that. Still Coulson's still being cagey. So yeah, it's intrigue. It's working on me.
Joe, are you a Sky fan? We like to ask this question. People have early Sky.
I did rewatch up till, well, I rewatched the first 3, and then I read synopsises of 4, 5, and 6, and then I watched this one since I had seen everything before. But I think my favorite Sky moment so far has been when she had her very first assignment, and she's talking to the dude at the party where she ends up like becoming an almost triple agent. But she talks to a guy about why she's there, immediately turns her back to him, puts her hand on her ear, and is like, I'm doing really good at being a spy right now. And that won me over because I was like, this is a person that I want to see kept being put in scrapes.
Yeah. That is a charming moment.
Thank you. And Joe, obviously don't say what, but do you know anything about Sky in terms of what's coming down the pipeline?
Oh, when I rewatched episodes 1 through 3, I was like, yeah, I don't remember any of this show. So no, I don't know.
Okay. I love that. I hope you keep watching.
It was a very difficult time.
Yeah, I hope you keep watching so that you can
it was a very difficult time.
So then we have the end tag. This is a great end tag where Coulson, calls into some kind of automated shield system, and he wants to find out more about Tahiti because there's a moment in this episode where Tahiti comes up and he says it's a magical place, comes out, and he hesitates. He realizes like
he glitched.
Saying that, and he wants to find out more. He hesitates and finds out that that information he does not have access to. And he's like, but I'm level 8. Doesn't matter. Do you want us to send this to Fury? And he says, nope, never mind. And so, we're dying to know what's going on with Coulson. And now Coulson's really dying to know what's going on with Coulson.
Yeah. It makes my heart feel things. I want my dude to get some solace here, regardless of whether he's been resurrected with magic or as a clone robot or whatever. It's got to be wearing him down. I don't like it.
Joe, do you have feelings about the end?
My guess, just going from the comics, my guess would be life model decoy, if that's something that I don't know if they start playing with that. And so it's not spoilers because I don't know, but taking my knowledge of comics and applying it, that's where I would think might be headed towards. I remember not having a problem with them bringing him back from the dead, because I was just like, well, yeah, it's Clark Gregg. Like, we want more. Just give it to us.
I mean, even now, 10 years later, we still want more. We're still clamoring for him.
Yeah.
Exactly. I want to shout out Alice in the comments who said that there's a really good deleted scene from this episode where Simmons goes to May for help after shooting Sitwell, and she's just like, where's the body? I love that. Our Blu-ray set I've just been using for commentary, which there are only 3, I think, this season. There aren't very many, so I gotta start doing better. I also have that S.H.I.E.L.D. Classified book from the first season, and I need to start reading that and sharing more information. But I do still have a lot of history to share for this episode, even though I didn't learn it from the book or from the DVDs.
Yeah,
so
bust that
are
thing
you ready
open
for some information?
Can I say my favorite line of the episode real quick before you do information on us?
You sure can.
Okay. It's when Simmons, when Fitz is like, so what were you doing while I was gone? And she goes, I shot my superior officer in the chest. And like, she's so jazzed about it. And then it's just Fitz's face. And then it cuts. I love when a scene knows when to end. Like, that was such a good comedic cut.
That's that sketch comedy history right there, baby.
You're damn right. White.
So this episode was originally titled The Sandwich Incident, but Joss Whedon decided... Yeah, but Joss Whedon decided to change it to The Hub. We should have known then. And honestly, sometimes I forget that he still had any... that he still had any kind of say in the show, because the first season he was around a bit, but eventually it's like this man has nothing to do with this show. So when I found out that it was him that changed this episode title, I was kind of salty about it.
That's so bad. I mean, that the writing was on the wall. As soon as he changed the title of the Agents, you could have made a roadmap of all the crooked, mean shit he did. Oh God, I love that.
I'm so glad that's happened, because I've been dancing around saying anything salty about Joss Whedon for this past hour.
Like we covered on it. This is not a Joss Whedon show. This is Jed Whedon and Marissa Tantrone's show. They are the two people that made this show what it was, which is great. I'm glad this isn't a Buffy podcast, because then it would be really hard to skirt around him. I interviewed Emma Caulfield literally 2 days ago, and she made a quip about Buffy. She was like, yeah, we were treated so well. And it was like, oh, it sucks to hear that about your favorite show, but it's just the truth. But when people talk about Jedmo in this show, it's only love. Everybody's got love for Jedmo, and I'm so happy about that.
Hell yeah.
Speaking of Jedmo, there are some interesting quotes that they shared about this episode. Jed Whedon said, we were trying to flesh out the world of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the established characters, and the characters were introducing to build up the larger organization that we were operating. So, they really put a lot of thought into making sure that, we're seeing more of S.H.I.E.L.D. than just this core 6 people. And then Mo talked about the introduction of Victoria Hand and how she treated Coulson, and said it was a very significant thing for him to deal with Hand lying to him and facing the fact that the organization that he's been dedicating his life to lied to his face about the people within his team. That's a significant part of his journey, and I think that's cool. I like when we get little Jedmo quotes about each episode, because it's like, yeah, it is significant.
Clearly we're on his team, and it's because they designed it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Good shit.
And the writers, they wanted to make sure that Fitzsimmons had some kind of deep connection to show their history, and that is what resulted in the sandwich. And I think that's just such a simple thing, where because nothing says love to me like a sandwich, and a history and a friendship. Because like Tony knows if he's gonna make me a sandwich, he's not putting lettuce on it, because I don't like lettuce, and these are important things. I think sandwich is a really simple way to show that, and it should have been the name of the episode.
That's really cool. I've never thought of sandwich as a I've never thought of sandwich as a personality beacon, but I guess it can be, or you just a person's taste in one edible thing. I like that.
There are a million ways to make a sandwich.
You're right. Everyone has preferences.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a sandwich place near where I was living back in Missoula, and the sandwich she described, this is like a top of the line sandwich place. And I was like, that's like a sandwich I would pay top dollar for. And I know I've talked about it already. I just can't believe they sent the sandwich on such a dangerous mission.
The true casualty of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah.
Amazing. So filming for this one took place October 4th to October 15th, 2013. And my favorite fact that I learned about this episode was that the hub was filmed at the Pacific Design Center here in Los Angeles. And as soon as I read that, which was 30 minutes before this episode started, I had to text my friends, Sari and Jackie, who are friends that I met through the S.H.I.E.L.D. fandom, to make sure that when I moderated the S.H.I.E.L.D. 100 panel, it was at the Pacific Design Center, but I couldn't totally remember. So I was like, girls, help me. Is that where, because we didn't know each other then, but they were there in the audience, which is fun. They've seen me on a stage before we were friends. And shouted them out because they both responded instantly. And they were both like, yep, that's where it was. And Jackie was like, yeah, I knew that's where they filmed the hub, because these girls know everything. And that is why I love them and I keep them around.
I'm sure they're going to be on, right? I mean, they're going to be on.
Oh, yeah, I definitely want to have my S.H.I.E.L.D. friends on. But the thing about that is that, they've seen all the episodes so much that we can have those kind of people on much later. We're trying to get people who don't know the show as well early on so we can rope them in and not give them so much homework. But yes, Jackie and Sari, if you're listening, I think it'd be amazing if you guys came on and maybe even together. But so that is the episode. Those are the fun facts of the episode. Tony, before you leave the room, where would you say this episode ranks for you?
Man, I really got to start doing an actual ranking. It's high. It's up there. It's as episode 6 was definitely my favorite. That's a banger. This is after that, maybe second or third. I don't know. Third. I don't know what goes before it. I'd have to. All right. I'm committing to making a rank list. Next time y'all ask me, because I rank things all the time anyway. Next time you ask me where an episode ranks, I will have a definitive answer because that list is going to happen.
Thank you. Amazing. And do you have any other thoughts about this episode before you leave?
I can't figure out what this note is that I wrote down, and maybe you can help me. Actually, it's just the words "mag pouch" in all capitals with exclamation marks.
Didn't Fitz say he was bringing that with him?
That was the sleeping bag that they were in that attached to the truck.
Oh!
They're like in a sleeping bag that's camouflaged.
The magnetic pouch. Yes, that was tight.
That was cool.
That was really cool. The fact that it was also camouflaged, loved it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
All right, yeah. Well, thank you, Joe. That concludes my my thoughts and feelings on episode 7.
Tony, do you want to say our thank yous before you go?
I do. I do want to thank everybody. So thank you, Stephanie at Eclectic Muses on socials for doing our wicked artwork. And thank you, Ryan Miera of Yellow Pills at Yellow Pills Music on Instagram for doing our awesome music, and our wonderful disembodied Supreme Intelligence, Maria. Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
And Tony, are you sure you know who Maria is? Because she does have colors in her hair, so you can tell her apart.
That's true.
From other women.
Colored hair.
She must be evil.
Maria, Tony.
Well, that's up for debate.
To begin with.
Nice try, motherfucker.
We all remember.
Yeah.
We all remember Tony was the first one to say, "I'm pretty sure that this was supposed to be Madam Hydra."
Joe found innocent.
Oh, wow. And I can't even defend myself, so I'm supposed to leave the damn room.
Well, before you do, Joe, is there anything you want to plug? Any social media you want to plug? I know you're not a big social media guy, so you can tell our audience to fuck off and never find you. But if you do want to be friends with them, where can they find you?
Buffalo Wild Wings has BOGO on Thursdays where you can buy one and get one. It's like a really good deal, and it's helped me out a lot of times. So if they want to give me some money, that would be cool.
Amazing. B-Dubs, if you're listening, we could use a sponsor. We'd love to have a sponsor. I'd love for it to be B-Dubs. Love a good wing. Joe might not care about social media. We do. So you can follow us at LidoPod on Instagram and Twitter. And from there, you can check out our link tree, which has a million different places to go. Please like and subscribe our channel on YouTube and Spotify. Leave us those 5-star reviews. Leave us comments. I love when you comment on our Instagram. I love reading that stuff. I've been trying to make things even more interactive because I love chatting with you guys. It's always fun. And don't forget, if you leave us a 5-star review and ask us a question, we'll answer it. It can be a really dumb question. Tony might lie to you. Who knows? All right. If you have not seen beyond episode 7 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you should leave the room with Tony right now. Goodbye, Tony.
Come on, everybody. We're going. We're leaving the room. Goodbye.
So, Joe, do you want me to dance around some things, or can I just full spoiler for you?
You could probably full spoiler. I am not somebody who gets upset about spoilers because I like seeing how stories get to there anyway. I like the journey. Oh, did you miss me on that?
No, yeah, I thought my AirPods were back, but they died again. Sorry, everybody. Technical difficulties are tough, That's just the name of the game. But we're almost done, so we're just gonna keep on keeping on, as the Bradys say. So I do want to shout out Francis in the comments for instantly guessing my 2 favorite Skimmins episodes, which are Self-Control and Fear and Loathing on Planet Kitson. Fear and Loathing on Planet Kitson is my Twitter header, and it's the shield tattoo that I have. So you nailed it, and everyone agreed. Like those are kind of the obvious, but Skimmins in Self-Control is genuinely one of my favorite episodes. Joe, you mentioned LMDs, and I will tell you now, Coulson is not an LMD yet. He will become an LMD in the final season. And so you called that for season 7 he is, but in season 4, briefly, most of the characters are also him as well. Like there are LMD doubles, and the LMD arc into the framework arc is my second favorite arc in television history. So if you do continue, I really recommend getting to season 4 because the LMD shit's awesome.
Yeah, I do. It's one of those things that the comics run into the ground, but also every time they do it, I'm like, that's awesome. Yes. Because also, it's always an LMD in the comics.
Yeah. That season also has Madam Hydra, who is not Victoria Hand.
Okay. Is it Julia Louis-Dreyfus?
No. But she's amazing, and she's the only actual cosplay I've done from S.H.I.E.L.D. in my years of being a S.H.I.E.L.D. fan. So shout out to Mallory Jansen, who's amazing in that character. Another thing that's really fun that I'm looking forward to Tony seeing in season 2 is that at the beginning of season 2, Simmons goes undercover at Hydra. So to show her journey of like can't even lie to a superior officer to going into Hydra is pretty cool.
Interesting, because the one of the things with Sky, Marvel was still trying to wrestle a lot of its properties back at like 10 years ago, I think, right? Like they still didn't even a little bit have Spider-Man. Sky is so similar to Jessica Drew's character in the comics. It's just it constantly bums me out that it's not Jessica Drew, because do you know Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was your question?
I was like, do you know who she is, though?
Does she end up being like a character who's not just like a character just for the show?
Yeah, she ends up being she's Daisy Johnson. She's Quake.
Oh, okay. And
the hardest thing about this podcast is calling her Sky when I've known her as Daisy for many years. Yeah. Finally, you know, the Winter Soldier of it all, it's so hard to dance around because I don't want Tony to think too hard about the Hydra infiltration because I don't want him to start thinking about who on our main team could be in Hydra. So I get so nervous when this comes up, but we're close. April's not that far away, guys. We only have to live this lie for so long.
It didn't even occur to me that any of the main cast could be Hydra. I was like, oh, look at all these people who are Hydra around them.
Yeah,
but
I don't think Tony's thought about it either, and I don't want him to. So we're gonna put a pin in that. Also, I mentioned
I'm texting him right now.
I will kill you, Joe. You will never be invited into this house again. But I mentioned how Laura Barton is at the end of Hawkeye. You find out she's Agent 19, and that it has been a problem for a lot of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans because in season 2 we meet Bobby Morse, who is Mockingjay, aka Agent 19, and it brings up a lot of these multiverse questions, who is who, whatever. It doesn't super bother me much. They can be different people. I don't think Bobby's ever referred to as Agent 19 in the show. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Yeah. But you know, things like that. And then I think that was really all I had to say in terms of future things. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns, Joe?
No, I love it when a narrative takes liberties, even when they're liberties I don't like, because, I mean, especially with things like Marvel, you're so rarely adapting. It's not like when you adapt a novel, you know, you might take a storyline, but I love watching, like Thor Ragnarok, the fact that they took like Ragnarok and World War Hulk and made them work together so stuff like that doesn't really bother me because I'm always like, oh, that's how it works in this universe. And yeah.
Cool. I love when you drop your comics nuggets because as someone who's read a fair amount of comics, it is not my area of expertise. I'm just somebody who watches the same movies and shows over and over again, until I die.
Once Endgame happened, I was just scratching for the long form itch so much that I started reading a lot of the comics during downtime because I was like, maybe if I read a bunch, it'll all come together like Endgame did, and it kind of hasn't. So now it's just kind of something that, like, if I have a couple minutes, I'll read something.
This week, I think, really is the most confident I felt in the path way to Secret Wars in a long time, but that is not what this podcast is about. I have another podcast to discuss that. I do not want to open that can of worms. So before we say our official goodbye, is there anything else about this show, this episode, or anything, Joe, that you want to say?
Not. I don't want to make anybody mad. Well, you and I have talked about episodic narrative is a hard one for me to get with. But I think in terms of something that is set with that level of structure, it really is very entertaining. And it's something that's easy to get into, more so than like for me, like NCIS or something like that. And part of that is because of the tangential to the Marvel, but also, they're fun characters.
Yeah, they are. And very quickly it becomes more of an art show. So like even like this week's episode wouldn't have made sense without last week's episode, kind of a thing. And it does not have like the monster of the week formula for very long. Pretty soon it is a really connective tissue. Which I love. So, Joe, thank you for joining us. I know that you woke up, you were in our home this morning and left at 7 a.m. So you had a big driving day. And so we appreciate you rallying. And for everyone in the chat, thank you. Thank you for those of you who helped me with things I couldn't remember. And shout out to those who are great guessers. We love you. Whenever I see you guys in the chat, whether it's 2 people or 20 people, it makes me so happy that you're joining us. It makes me feel like we are doing the right thing by doing this podcast. I love this fandom. Don't forget to tune in next Sunday, November 19th for the 8th episode, The Well. I can't remember who it was on Instagram. I'm sorry, I'm blanking, but somebody wanted to know what my least favorite episodes. There's like 4 episodes of the show I don't care for, and The Well is one of them. It is just so much Ward, but it does tie in with Thor the Dark World, so check out that Patreon episode because Adam Gertler is coming back next week to discuss. We'll be back live on YouTube and Twitch at 5 o'clock Pacific. If you can't make the live stream, the episode will be available shortly after on all major pod platforms. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.